Welcome back to The Verdict. It's our election studios coming to you live from Lagos, where we bring you all things 2019 general elections. Don't forget, you can send us your questions, your comments. Just hashtag The Verdict. You can hashtag 2019 elections if you want to tweet at us at Channels TV. You can also send us Channels Television. That's a comment on Instagram. We'll be glad to hear from you. But we'll change this up in just a minute. We'll tell you all about that. At the moment, we do also have Dr. Ikenna Nwosu in the studios. He's an investment promotion consultant. We'll be coming to him in a moment as well. But now, we need to head to our correspondent, Kayla Megwa, who is in the field because she's talking to a lot of people who matter at the moment. Kayla.
Yes, Chamberlain. We are at the INEC office in Karu, and you can see behind me these non-sensitive INEC materials are going to be distributed to all the wards. But we have the electoral officer for the Abuja Municipal Area Council. Her name is Fadimatu Bakari, and she's going to be talking to us about, you know, where they are in terms of preparations and what they are doing next. Thank you for speaking with us this morning.
Thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Okay, so talk to us a bit about the materials here and where we are as regards preparations.
All right, now we are in Karu Area Council. As you can see, we have arranged all our ballot papers, all the sensitive materials to what level. And very soon, we will be leaving to our wards for the continuation of the distribution to PUs. The SPUs will do their work there, distributing to PUs and doing a refresher training and at the ward level. So as for now, we are almost done because you can see it's ward by ward already.
So talk about the preparation. So I can see a lot of observers around us. I'm seeing the EU observers, and I'm seeing the Commonwealth observers around us as well. So have there been any challenges so far? I mean, with the postponement of the elections, did you face any challenges moving forward with the distribution this time?
No, with the postponement, unless we have already settled all what we have had before. Now everything you can see is just 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. At least we are all ready by now. No much challenge like the first one.
So there was another question. People, some of the ad hoc staff, you know, there were some videos going around about them not having places to sleep and whatnot. How is that being sorted out this time?
No. And anyway, I don't know. In Amak, we had all their mats, their buckets, their sanitaries, that's the tissues and all the like. It has been there, and the generator light has been. Even right now, our rack has activated by 9 a.m. If you can go around, you see all. Most of the coppers are even trooping into the rack centers, and with some of the SPOs. Some of the SPOs are here, some are there, attending to the distance. So the rack is already open. We are ready for them. So and the refresher is by 12 p.m. this afternoon.
A refresher, like a training?
Yeah, it's just a refresher, asking them questions. What are you supposed to do as a PO, a PO2, a PO3, a PO? What are your duties? So that we see how capable they are, and so that they will not. How capable they know the job.
So basically this time INEC is ready, at least for the AMAC, for the Abuja Municipal Area Council.
Yeah, I can speak for my own. We are ready.
Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you.
All right, well, you've been listening to the electoral officer for the Abuja Municipal Area Council, and she's saying basically that they are ready. They're going to be taking these non-sensitive materials to the wards immediately, and then tomorrow when it's time for the polls, everyone can go out there knowing that their materials are out there and they can cast their votes safely. Chamberlain.
Thank you very much indeed, Kayla, a correspondent who came live from Abuja. Well, moving on now, yes, we do know that the elections having been postponed, INEC held several conferences, several press briefings with stakeholders, talking to them about what transpired, what they put it in place to ensure that all is well for the big day tomorrow. Well, Dr. Ikenna Nwosu, as we did introduce him earlier on, an investment consultant, investment promotions consultant. Dr. Nwosu, sometimes, you know, looking through this procedure in terms of when elections are postponed, yeah. Do you think that, do we factor in the implications of this, or is it that afterwards we somehow bounce back and investors just think maybe that was a blip or a glitch and then we just move on?
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me over. gentlemen, be very sure investors don't see it as a blip. Our country is in the public eye at the moment for the wrong reasons, the postponement of the elections. And even for countries that did not have so much attention focused on our elections have taken a closer look. Why are we postponing elections 5 hours to the elections? Whereas 12 hours to that election will still be given assurances that it's going to hold. Fact check. Every home in this country, every business, every boardroom had factored in that there will be 2 elections. The 16th of February and the 2nd of March. So in the whole of last year, when the elections, and still now, were common denominators in every boardroom and in every home, the calculation was, and the forecast taken into account was, we're going to have the weekend of the 16th, Friday and Saturday, because usually the day before there's always disruption, and the 2nd of March. We're taking into consideration in everything we want to do, including logistics, movements here and there. So that's clear. Fact check. It's actually turned to 4 weekends and not 2.
How?
The first weekend has gone. That was the 16th, 15th and 16th. Now we have 22nd and 23rd. We had March 1st and 2nd, which was taken into account, but it's not going to be actual, but for which a number of things, opportunity costs, things that will have been done on the 2nd of March, on the 1st will have been moved to other dates, and then the last one is the 9th of March.
So we are even going to spend on a day, we are going to lose on a day we don't have any plan of doing anything.
Well, it won't be, that is, you mean on the 2nd of March, you mean? Well, it will not be total loss, because for those kind of costs that could be, or events, activities that could be rescheduled, that's fine. But there will be events or business activities that ought to have happened on those days, on that particular day, or on the 1st, which will have earned income to a certain percentage, but have to be moved to another date.
You know, here's what we'll do. Let's help us understand this a little bit more. Let's get to the board, because when you talk about the boardroom, maybe this is our own board at this point in time. Shed some light on this for us. Let's attempt to understand what you're speaking about in terms of if we can really put a cost or have at least some sort of representation to help ease our understanding of what we may have lost in this period that, we had the elections postponed. Now, take us through this one. This was the election postponement and incident walk-free day. Incidentally,
which is today.
Today is also a public holiday ahead of the big day. Exactly. So, how come about the half-day Friday, February 15?
Well, so let's speak about the actual, because yes, the elections have been postponed, 23rd and March 9th. But what's the postponement figure we're looking at?
Yeah.
Half day on the 15th, full day 16th. These two have happened. The election did not hold. And now, full day today.
Yeah.
So we're having 2.5 days. That's half, 1, 2. 2.5 days. And this day is work-free. Yes, the financial sector, well, not the whole financial sector, but...
Which of the days is work-free now?
Today, the 22nd.
Okay.
Now.
That will be... This is the big day.
This is the big day, yes. Now, definitely, we are quite sure that a lot of figures have been mentioned here and there about what is the loss. But let's go to the next slide. Okay. Because now we know basically, our assumption here is we are using 2.5 days to calculate what's the loss. Now, take a look at the list of the type of losses we expect. You have the direct loss or costs. Those are costs that are directly associated with the postponement. Now, those direct costs take into account the fact that the postponement is now a cost center in every home. Why do I use the word cost center? I'll give you an example. In Nigeria, today, between today and tomorrow, INEC is going to be deploying all its ad hoc staff again. Yeah. a new set of costs. The youth corpus. You're going to pay them, you're going to mobilize them financially for moving out.
Same thing with police.
And before we come to the security agencies, INEC again is going to be, has recalled all her card readers, reprogrammed them, and will send them back. That's a cost. You come to the security, the police were deployed out, paid deployment allowance, mobilization allowances, called back. They're all going to be deployed again today. The civil defense, name it. So that's the security aspect. I know they had the total.
Under the direct cost, right?
Under direct cost, yes. Again, in terms of direct costs, if I may flip through my paper, you have a situation where political parties who have finished their campaigns had to campaign for another 3 or 4 days. That's additional cost that was not factored in before. And they are also going to remobilize their polling agents nationwide.
But can we quantify in money terms, what all this boils down to? How much money are we talking about in this instance?
Well, INEC will have to put out in the public space later what were their costs of remobilization. I don't have those figures. But what I know is that the budget approved for them by the National Assembly was a fixed sum. Whether inside that entire framework there is an adjustment for this, I mean, I wouldn't say National Assembly and say the postponement. But if this additional cost is not covered by the budget, then it means that that's a fiscal deficit for the country.
People have different understanding of what you mean by
opportunity cost.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. An opportunity cost is what you are losing, the revenue and the activity you are losing if the election was not scheduled. In Nigeria, for those 2.5 days, economic activity and revenue didn't come in, largely. So, calculated in terms of our GDP, Nigeria's GDP is $446 billion. If you go to the next slide, $446 billion. You divide it by 365 and multiply it by 2.5 days. Convert it to Naira, 305 Naira. You are getting about 933 billion for those 2.5 days. Now, that's a lot of revenue. That's a lot of GDP. And yes, we know that Saturday may not be a full GDP ending day, but by the time you balance it out with other factors, that's what you're getting as the major opportunity cost of the postponement under this heading.
But we don't seem to have a cost to the direct cost. So can we get a proper tabulation if only we have the opportunity cost and the consequential cost?
Now,
because we don't have that there.
Yeah, you don't have this because a lot of the information has to come from INEC because most of it is public sector expenditure. That's why I put a question mark to it. On the consequential side, there are several costs, but this particular cost is 1.61% of the all share index on the first working day, Monday the 18th of February, after the postponement. That shows you the impact of investor concerns. The activity was less. Just 1.61% of the oil share index gave you 196 billion. That is a consequence of the postponement. That's a consequential cost. So we can put a figure to this and this. If you put this together, you're getting about 1.1 trillion.
Okay.
About 1.13 trillion. But that's not all of the consequential costs. You talk of the consequential costs.
So we have a lot more costs here now.
No. Before that, could you go back 2 slides? Good. I've mentioned the opportunity costs.
Yeah.
I've mentioned the direct costs. I've mentioned the consequential costs. There are some other consequential costs which I have here. For instance, across the country today, you have a number of foreign, regional, and local election observers. Many of them are going to stay longer. Another 1 week. They stayed 1 week. They're going to pay hotel bills. That's a cost. Luckily, the federal government has waived their visa fees, so they didn't have to pay for visa extension. But that's a revenue head that will have come to Nigeria. But that's gone. Again, as a consequential cost.
Can we put a figure to that?
That's not possible. I don't have the figure up yet. That's why I say a lot of that information has to come from the government, from the public sector to put it out. Again, when you check, you will find that across Nigeria today, a lot of the consequential costs will come from reputational. This is a consequential cost, even though I put it separately. We cannot put a quantifiable figure to it because across the world, investor concerns have been communicated from the business community in the countries to their home governments. Because a lot of the revenues they make in Nigeria and everywhere else in the world is remitted back to their country as taxes.
So they will equally,
of course,
feel this kind of loss.
I was reading the report of Business Sweden about the United States election in 2016. From Sweden, Business Sweden, their own equivalent of NASIMA, talking about that. So you can imagine how in the boardrooms across the world, the impact of this election has been discussed, because at the end of the day, it will impact on their revenues going back home. Now,
I see that there's a sectoral application as well.
Yeah, there's a sectoral application.
On this particular one. So if you could run through this now.
How
are you able to put a figure to the informal sector?
Now, extrapolation. The NBS, National Bureau of Statistics, said that their 2015 percentage was 41.43% of GDP was contributed by the informal sector. But the IMF used 65%. So I went to the IMF figure. And the 65% of the GDP for those 2.5 days gives you this. Wow. The maritime sector contributes about, I have it here, about 0.5% of the GDP. That's the figure in Naira terms. All this is in Naira. The aviation sector does about 0.1%. Road transport about 0.8%. The trade sector, that's international trade, about 21%. The merriment sector was basically an extrapolation, because you know that under the merriment sector, creative entertainment industries will have a lot of broken value chains. So it's not easy to put a standard figure to it, because a lot of the people here are actually informal. So many social events, burials and all that. So that's, and weddings, that's music shows, that's their contribution.
Then of course we also have the trade sector.
Exactly, but I only said the sectors that are worst hit.
Yeah,
I use the word,
this cost.
I use the word worst. The reason being that, for instance, telecoms is not here.
So this looks like it in graphical.
This is it in graphic terms, yes. The telecoms is not here because telecoms, your mobile phone, whether there's postponement of elections or not, it's on. The financial sector.
Is there any possibility that the informal sector can recover as quickly as the formal?
Well, this appears sometimes to be more resilient, the informal sector, and their recovery is usually faster. So I can't place a time frame to their recovery here.
But you know,
but I want to say something about the disruption cost. I haven't talked about it.
Okay. The disruption cost, which is this. Okay, but I'm just wondering if we could move to this one before we wrap this up.
Okay.
Is it, because I also think that, yes, this figure is they raise some sort of concern, a lot of concern as a matter of fact. Yes. Isn't it possible too that we recover, because if we get it right at this point in time, all of those investments that may seem to have, as a result of capital flight, we lost them. Wouldn't we get them ×2 if they see that there's some sort of stability in the system?
×2. Then we have to get tomorrow right.
We have to get this one right first.
And we have to get the 9th of March right before the investor confidence goes back up. For sure, opportunity cost is non-recoverable. That's clear.
Yeah.
You can't get it back. Consequential costs could be recovered. But for instance, the costs that are incurred by Nigerians who flew in from overseas for the elections, those are moved interstate, and even those that moved to local governments to state, those that can't be recovered. But if you're talking about foreign investor interest in coming back into this country, the magic, look at the magic that the 2011 elections did. After 2011 elections, and we were seen as a country that is able to conduct a credible election. Okay. The inflows, and Nigeria became the largest economy in Africa by 2014.
And we kept on moving. So, well, all right, we have to thank you for coming on this morning. Dr. Ikenamosu is an investment promotions consultant. We'll be back in a moment and continue on The Verdict. Don't go away.